this is Sherry Veronica, and we are live streaming. It's 8 o'clock Pacific time, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Today is September 30th, 2016. We wanted to talk about the financial hitmen in Barbados. I've placed to I'm calling Victor to see if he will be available. But that's something that he called this morning about very early. Good morning. We're live.
Hello?
Good morning, Victor. We are live streaming. We are on air as we speak. So.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Yes, we are on air. I'm sorry I called you. I usually call you 2 minutes before, but I was online taking instructions from people. They wanted me to not ask you any questions, but to give our opinions on certain things that are coming up as we speak. But good morning. Welcoming to the live stream on YouTube. We are not connected today to Blog Talk, so we don't have to worry about Blog Talk today. Just so busy. Yes, I know you wanted to talk about the financial hitmen and where have all those loans that are not being repaid, where have they gone? Where is that dark hole in Barbados? Is that dark hole in the pockets and in the offshore accounts of black Barbadian, the new white man? Do you want to start? I know you were very passionate earlier this morning.
Well, yeah, I want to start, but I always want to start first and foremost with giving praise and thanks to those who have been instrumental in us being where we are, those in Barbados who continuously work every day and struggle every day to try to make it better for themselves and for their children. I want to take my hats off to those Barbadian parents, regular, run-of-the-mill Barbadian people who are conscious in everything that they do or try to do to put food on the table for themselves and their families. I take my hats off to you, and it is to you that we owe a debt of gratitude. But I want to talk about the dilemma, of course, in St. Joseph and with Dale Marshall, taking a shower every day, washing his body, he and his family being able to get water. I want to still stay on that issue because that issue is always front lobe, always in my view, always in my vision, that I hope that Dale Marshall would take a moral high ground and do something for the people of St. Joseph for them getting their water, for them being able to have lives that are decent lives and lives with integrity. It starts with water, Dale, and I know that you are bathing. I know your family is bathing, so I need you to get off your ass, get out of your comfort zone. I need for you to be uncomfortable, Dale, because you represent people. You chose to represent the people of St. Joseph. So get off your ass and do something about the water dilemma, the water issue in St. Joseph. I'll go to my grave, Dale, holding on to that. So you will never ever wake up and not hear an issue about that water issue in St. Joseph and the water issue in St. Lucie with that hypocrite Dennis Kelman. You'll never hear me not get on their asses. If you represent the people of Barbados, be mindful of the fact that you owe them. They don't owe you. You owe them everything that you possess as far as representation for them and for their families. So from a constituency standpoint, St. Lucie, St. Joseph, St. George, you constituents there need to be mindful of the fact that you voted these people in. They are responsible to you for making sure that you get what it is you and your families need to survive each and every day. Now then, let's go to $350 million or so of Barbadian money that has been lost in the sauce. Let's talk about that. Let's start with people like Michael Carrington, the Speaker of the House of Assembly of Barbados. Michael, do you have outstanding loans that you have not paid back? Do you have outstanding loans that you have not paid back? And if so, why? Let's go down then to Mr. Donald Ennis. Mr. Ennis, do you have outstanding loans that you have not paid back? And if so, why? Why should people in government that have been placed there at the behest of the people of the country of Barbados have taken out loans, borrowed monies from the people of Barbados, and they have not paid those loans back yet? Why? If you're a parliamentarian and you've got a loan and you have refused to make payments on your loans, why are you doing these things? Why? I don't care who you are, what side of the coin you're on, Barbados Labour Party, Democratic Labour Party, Independent, just pay just do like regular Barbadians have to do. Pay back your loans. Period. At the end of the day, what's happening in Barbados is that there's no one minding the store. There is no captain of the ship of state. Mr. Stewart has been fumbling his way through some political maze now for the last almost 10 years. There is no accountability. General accounting principles and/or practices, GAP, seem not to apply in Barbados, where there is massive fraud, waste, and abuse. Massive fraud, waste, and abuse. Why are there no persons in Barbados that are auditors, are CPAs, are tax attorneys? Why are these people not calling on the Fundell Stewart-led administration to come to the table with open books so that the people of Barbados may know what's going on as far as the general accounting principles in the Barbados government? Why? Why? I don't want to hear Clyde Maskell talking about the economic principles of Barbados. He knows all too well, because he's been a government minister and he's also been in the opposition DLP. He knows all too well the psyche that it takes to defraud the people of Barbados. Let's talk about fraudulent behavior by ministers and government in Barbados. That's criminal. Let's talk about that, Mr. Stewart. Let's talk about that, Michael Carrington. Let's talk about that, Donald Ennis. I call you today to answer to the people of Barbados about your criminal enterprise as far as having monies that are not paid back to the government of Barbados. And I hand back to you, Sherry.
Well, take it away. I have nothing to say about money and politicians, because it's axiomatic. You know what happens when they have your money. You don't get your money back. Money and Barbadians on the whole, you do not get your money back. So I don't know what to say. People that live in Barbados should know. I can understand this if this is a warning to people coming in, but this is not a warning to people who are coming in thinking that Barbadians are very nice and they're very honest. This is not a warning to strangers. When we have these shows and they're live streaming, it's for Barbadians. Barbadians are hearing it. Islanders are hearing this particular show, and they know what's up. They know what time of day it is on the island. And you give a Barbadian money to do a job, and they come 2 days and you don't see them for the balance of that time, and they go and spend your money, drink it out, pay women to do stuff, and your money is gone. And there's a problem. There's always a problem when it comes to money. So when it comes to politicians, and they have access to millions of dollars, and there's no accountability, they never will go to jail. You know of Michael Carrington. He is a prime example. He is never ever going to go to jail. They will come and knock at your door for $5. They would arrest someone for having not even an ounce of weed, just a blunt, just the remnants of a cigarette that had marijuana. That person will find themselves in jail for 6 months. And yet Michael Carrington, an attorney, the Speaker of the House in Parliament. He is an elected official. He took stole almost $250,000 from his elderly, disabled client. Elderly and disabled. He was waiting for that man to die. That's what they do. They wait for you to die and they take what is not theirs. Usually in the world, you usually see people dying very horrific deaths because the sin of all that is upon them. But in Barbados, for some reason, it is so part of who they are that they could live to be 90, 99, 100 years old and not suffer for all the ills that they've done. And then again, you turn and you look at the lab and you look at that experiment that we have been looking at, and you have to give the architects of that particular code some credit. You have to pat them on the shoulders because indeed they did do a good job. They did a phenomenal job because right now Barbadians can steal from you, can devastate you financially, and they can go and rest comfortably in their beds. Comfortably. No regret, no sorrow, no nothing. So you have to look at who you're talking to. We have to take note of our audience, and we have to really pound our message through, because anything that is otherwise is not going to affect them. You're not going to be effective if you use a sleight of the hand. You have to come down very heavy, and they will hate you for it. But in time, if you persevere and if you hold on, and if there are people who can explain why we are necessary, you and I are necessary, why naked departure is necessary, they will come to understand in time, because they are so much drowning in their slavery and what was created. Barbarians are a new creation. And when I didn't know better, I would have said that there were subspecies. I came back to America saying I met a subspecies in Barbados. I actually met a species of human that I was not familiar with. That's what I came back to America in 2013 saying. And now, because when something happens to me, I always look back. I always try to figure it out. I never say, oh well. I'm not an oh well kind of person. I want to know what happened to me so that it never happens to me again. And when I discovered that subspecies, and now I'm hearing about a lab and an experimentation, and that Barbadians were the first real slaves, like the first people that were turned from human into animal, and the first domesticated people. These are things I'm hearing from the elite, the educated elite in Barbados. These are not people that went to the park. These are people that studied. These are people that are learned, as they say, educated, as they will say, that are saying that Barbadians are the first domesticated people. So what I saw and I took note of it, and I'm not a stupid person by any stretch of the imagination. So when I came back and I said I met a subspecies in Barbados, now I'm able to more identify and understand it, because I know that experimentation did take hold. It did work. They were broken. They did become slaves, and they remain slaves. And if you're talking to someone with that mindset, the same energy it took to make them what they are now, like they always say with E equals MC squared, you have to use that same opposite type of energy to bring them back to what they should be. So there's no sparing of the rod on my part, and that's why they hate me. But it's okay, I can handle it, because I know what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with a subspecies in Barbados. And getting back to the financial hitmen and the money that is lost, and the auditor general's report that no one took notice of, because we all know that Bajans like their meals like cereal. Just put it all in one and just add milk. Just add milk, or make it as simple as possible. Macaroni and cheese, we call it macaroni pie. Just make it as simple as possible. They do not want to bother their heads to analyze nothing. Whatever realizations come to them has to come to them in picture form. You have to actually like make it a joke, like have a pictorial and say, well, this one kicked this one in the ass, and then this one went to the hospital because they were kicked in the ass, and because they were kicked in the ass they had colon cancer, and then the colon cancer, everything has to be broken down like children, that you're talking to a child. So that's what we have. That's the battle we have here. That's what Naked Departure is here to do. We don't like serving the cereal. Nah, I don't like microwaved food. And we're gonna do it. We're gonna serve it up like our parents will serve it up, fresh food. We're gonna do it from scratch, the same way they were experimented on and defiled. We're going to do it. We're going to undo what was done, and it has to be done from scratch. And it's not going to be as easy as people think it's going to be. Victor, this is an uphill battle. We are dealing with people that do not have their own minds. They do not have their own minds. Yes, they can regurgitate. They can hear something and regurgitate it very, very quickly in sleep. They have memory, yes, but they don't have the ability to make sense out of the nonsense that they're hearing. And I will tell a quick story right now, that I have many friends that are rich, and I had one that never went to school. He was out of school by the time he was 12 years old, and he was a drug addict, and he loved to be in the whorehouse, and he was always doing something bad. He was just bad to the bone. But he was talented because he was able to con people, and somewhere along the line he knew how to perfect everything he did, and he became a millionaire. And in his heyday, when he became the top of his game, he needed to clean up his past. And what he did was he paid someone money to create a story about him, because he had bought his own island, and the island was named after him, and he was trying to get people to come onto the island and buy $1 million homes, but they needed to know who is the owner, who is the person behind all this. And he had to create a facade, he had to create a story. And the story about this particular man that I know, hope he's not listening to the show, I don't think he is, but I know him very well. I've been on the island many times. It's a beautiful island and beautiful homes, but the story is he came from wealthy people, and he graduated from the best of college, and that he was always on the up and up, and he always dreamt of doing what he's doing and blah blah blah. But I know that he was a drug addict, and he had absolutely no education, but he was just smart. He was just a bright fellow, even though he did what he did. And he came on a farm, and he used to brutalize animals, and he used to kill animals and bury them and that kind of stuff. He had a real bad spot in his brain. But when you read about him, he loves animals, he's a humanitarian, and he's this and that, because they had to clean up. He had to be cleaned up, and people reading that will regurgitate it as history. Regurgitate it. That's another reason I'm not a regurgitator. I do not like regurgitating history and reading up on people and thinking that I'm so educated. If I'm not there, if I don't know you, my thing is I don't know you. That's what they say, and you've heard me saying that. That's what they say, but I don't know. So, but we do know of Barbados. We do know because you are born there, I was born there, and we can actually see certain traits within ourselves because of our lineage, because of who we came from. So we can speak from that vantage point, and from there we have an uphill battle. We have a lot to do to bring Barbadians into the knowledge of who they are, why they behave the way they do, why they allow these things to happen to them, and they will turn you off. They will turn off once you start to talk about slavery to a Barbadian's ears. They're going to close down. They will close. They do not want to hear anything called slavery. So at all of these shows, if we use the word slavery, they'll probably just close out. But we must continue to talk. We must continue to agitate, to ask them, why would you allow a politician, someone who is a servant, to have millions of dollars put aside, and you are still struggling, you are still suffering, you are no better off since you have elected them. And I don't know if you've seen, but Dennis Kelman, his name is coming up a lot recently on the blogs, and he was one that had his doors opened up when there was a national shutdown. There was a tropical storm that was upon the island, and he wanted to make that extra dollar, and they said that he was being naughty, and they used that word naughty. And when you use the word naughty to a grown, to an adult, it's an insult. It has certain connotations, like, yeah, you spank a child on their wrist when they're naughty, but where do you spank an adult when they're naughty? You see, where do you spank on an adult when you think that they're naughty, quote unquote? So they're making sport at the Barbadian public. The people that put them in those positions are being mocked, are being laughed at. So I don't know if you have any suggestions, but a lot of people are thinking that Dennis Kelman, who has held on to that political post for a long time, he may be in trouble this coming election. Victor?
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime you're a politician, I don't hold too much in regard to Dennis Tillman and his ability to think through processes. Here's a man who wanted St. Lucie to secede from Barbados years ago, so that speaks volumes to how that man really thinks. But the greater evil in Barbados than Dennis Tillman is the Democratic Labour Party being led by Condell Stewart. He sits at the apex of power as a pharaoh. He is a pharaoh, and he has bondage the people of Barbados, and that bondage is in the form of financial existence. And by the time this pharaoh is removed from power, the people in Barbados would have suffered immensely due to financial downgrades. The system is dire in Barbados relative to accountability. And in that state, it is no wonder that the people like Dennis Kelman, Michael Carrington, and others can sit in power in Barbados with everybody knowing and whispering under their voices that these people are at best crooked and at worst completely ignorant of anything that's happening around them, and nonetheless there is no accountability. There's no accountability because the masses, the employers of the 30 people in Parliament, all they seem to do is just whisper, just talk. Talk is initially good and essentially good. But in order for there to be a movement that moves beyond just talk, we need action. We need people that hear the clarion call to action and are willing to move. I mean, can they kill 275,000, 280,000 people? Or of the whole people of Barbados, if there is a call to movement and the people demonstrate and the people move, can they do that? It just takes one. Each one teaches one, each one reaches one. It just takes one person. You
throw mud up against the wall, some part of that mud is going to stick on that wall. And what I'm calling for us to do collectively, expatriated Barbadians, as well as those who reside on the island, organize to have people removed from power. Another year with these people in power is far too long. Another year with this political group, this group of marauders, political marauders in power is far too long. We have to get these people out. And what they have visited upon somebody in Barbados with a voice that cares must answer these questions. Then you look at other social ills in Barbados, water issues, electricity issues, the development of the island, and the passing of offerings to the people of Barbados relative to what's being built under the auspices of the town and country planning, and Barbadians being not brought into light on what's being built in Barbados, and there is no accountability there. Unemployment levels where young people force young women into prostitution, young men into idleness, hanging out on the street lights at night, hanging out during the day, not being busy, and the government of Barbados sit idly by, doing nothing, revamping nothing in the island of Barbados, or if they are, very minimally. What's going on in my beloved Barbados? I say today directly to you, Farndell Stewart, Pharaoh of Barbados, let my people go. I say to you today, Stewart, let my people go. I would rather die on my feet than to live on my knees. Let my people go. Farndell Stewart. We have in Barbados a parliamentary representative system. You can say what you want to say about me and more Marley people. We're not going to all disagree. So let's agree to disagree. Let's disagree without being disagreeable. But she could never take Barbados to a place that is as bad as where it is right now under the leadership of Farndell Stewart. And Barbadians give her a chance to prove her mettle. She could never leave Barbados to a place that's worse off than it is now. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because she has come from under multiple years of leadership of Owen Seymour Arthur. At least she had him there to guide her, for her to apprentice, for her to watch. What we have now is a decayed system of government that is detrimental to the lives of all Barbadians anywhere. I hand back to you, Sherry.
Yeah, I was doing some background checking because some people were saying that that your volume was loud, so please forgive me because you know how this is. But someone asked a question and I copied it and put it here, and they were saying, here, do you hear that? They were saying that they wonder if they were saying that it would be interesting to know how many white or Indian employers called in their employees during the storm. Have you heard anything like that? Have you? Because we know that Shafet, I don't know, that's a white employer. Is that a white employer? But
that's an Indian ownership.
But his employees are black probably, so that's not a good example. They're just wondering how many white or Indian employees go to work during the storm. So I don't know about, I didn't see anything circulating, and people will have to send me things for me to actually be able to look at that. But have you seen anything online?
I have not seen anything online.
Yeah. So somebody is saying that what you're saying is so true. When you were speaking, someone blogged that what you were saying is 100% correct. Like I said, I was in the back because someone was saying the other thing was offline when I'm here looking at it and it's online. So please forgive me because, I have like three different dashboards in front of me and I have to make sure that the lights are on and everything is going well, and that's what I was doing. But do you want to continue?
But yeah, all people in Barbados have been loyal. We have been loyal people for too long to people who mean us no good. And there's a young lady, Crystal Howard, who illuminated Barbados. I call her the Rob Nader, the reincarnated, and Rob Nader, by the way, isn't dead, but he was one of America's strongest advocates on many issues. And it was Rob Nader who caused the election in 2000. But I call Crystal that person. She is a literary satiric, and she's able to take the mundane, open it up to the masses. And if you haven't gone and checked Crystal Howard out, I beg you to go friend her on her Facebook page. It's to the advantage of every Barbadian that you do this. And she doesn't come to any situation with any particular political party in mind. She is rather unbiased. She is a decent young woman, and she is bright. She is the benefactor of an excellent education in Barbados. So she brings from the University of the West Indies, she brings a breath of knowledge that is fresh, and it brings to the Barbadian people an understanding into the auditory system, the system of auditing in Barbados, that allows us to understand accounting principles simply. And what she has unraveled in Barbados relative to what debt is out there, what's going on, it makes it very easy for a person like me to have listened, to have read, and to have inculcated what's going on in Barbados relative to the criminal enterprise that's ran by government ministers, run by these people. There seems to be there is no one at all to whom these people believe they are. And having said that, the manifestation of lack of accountability by these people envelops the belief system that they can do anything with anyone at any time. When we peel back the layers like we peel back a banana and look at ministers in government, I will contend with you Barbadians. I will offer you this simple fact that it will be almost as relevant as what happened here in the United States with certain congressmen in the 1990s when they were defrauding the federal system of massive amounts of money. You have to look at where the purse strings of Barbados happen to be. Who controls those purse strings? And follow the purse strings of Barbados no matter what. Because somewhere in the middle is the disdain that certain members of parliament have for Barbados. Because they cannot say to Barbadians that they care about you, yet their legislation and their mannerisms represent the diametrical opposite of what their mouths say. Somewhere along the line, these people, these marauders, these people are lying to you. They're not being clear and transparent to you, and therefore you cannot take their words anymore. You must now look at their actions. And the actions of these people speak louder than their words. So if you follow them, the question you asked earlier, relative to Mr. Carrington, here is a man who is an attorney general of Barbados, who is an attorney in Barbados. His here is a man who is Speaker of the House of Assembly of Barbados, this hemisphere's most venerable institution. This man sits at the helm of political debate and the laying down of legislation in Barbados, but he is not held accountable 1 minute for his behavior relative to something that was unscathably borderline demonic as far as ripping off somebody of their money allegedly. This man has continued to sit at the helm of the legislative body of Barbados, the most venerable institution in this hemisphere, the oldest parliamentary body in this hemisphere happens to be in Barbados. Yet, Mr. Carrington has done nothing to show that what has been alleged against his personality is totally untrue, and no Prime Minister in Barbados, no Prime Minister, because I know Nia did address this, and the opposition party did address this man remains tainted and at the helm of the legislative body of Barbados, nothing being done. Where is the accountability? Whether or not it is a matter that was done outside of the House of Assembly, he is the chief of the legislative body in Barbados in the House of Assembly. This man should have been removed from his position until the situation was properly investigated and he was either exonerated or complicit with criminal activity towards the allegation and permanently removed. If it had been a regular member of Barbados, a regular citizen in Barbados, the due process would have kicked in and would have facilitated for that. But in this case, nothing has been done with Michael Carrington, which tells me that mounted upon the possible criminal enterprise of this man is also the complicit nature of a Fundell Stewart administration, and I pass the blame for maladministration and for criminal behavior onto Mr. Fundell Stewart himself. And I hope that he will address these issues, address the issues for which Barbadians have been complaining for several years now, Mr. Stewart. Stop hiding behind the power of your office. Because of your being quiet or silent does not mean that the issue will go away. The issue is not going to go away because the people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. The people are amazed that you can lead the country with such an abysmal leadership style that you run the country into the ground, you run the country completely off the map. Barbados used to have some relative level of stability. Now, Barbados is like a storm, like Matthew the storm, waiting to just unleash tornadic winds and waves upon the people of Barbados, something that we don't need in 2016, Mr. Stewart. And I know that somewhere inside your confused mentality is a little bit of Barbadian. So I ask you to summon that little bit of Barbadian, to have that little bit of credibility, to have that little bit of righteousness, and do the right thing. Right thing. You know, they say the word right is an abstract thought that proves nothing, Mr. Stewart. But in this stead, there is something inside of you that has to reflect a little bit of your Barbadian identity. And I ask you to do that right thing, whatever it is. And I will step aside from the leadership of the Democratic Labour Party and from the leadership of Prime Minister, because you know, Mr. Stewart, if you were Prime Minister of Barbados for 1 hour, you're going to still get that retirement check. It's time for you to retire and and go to where retirees go. Go to Sandy Lane and play golf with some of the people that you've met, some of the white European people that you've met who have come through Barbados. Just set my people free, Pharaoh.
Not gonna happen.
Set my people free.
It's not gonna happen. Everything that you've just said, respectfully, my comment, he would never step away. He would never step down. When you talk about him doing the right thing and talking about whether right is abstract or whatever, if what we're hearing is true, they don't know what the right thing is. Barbadians do not know what the right thing is. Not all. I'm sure that some have awoken to the truth and they understand what's happening, but it's a small majority and they're minority, and they have to they're gonna have to wait for him to die. That's what's going to happen. They're going to have to wait for him to die, and if he's not there, Mia Motley will be there, and she's also a little thorn in the BLP's side, because although a lot of people like the BLP, or although a lot of people do not want the DLP to be back in power, when they think about her being the head of state, that's another hurdle for a lot of people. That's something that they cannot wrap around in their minds. So it's going to be bad no matter how you look at it. But this show that
Prime Minister is not the head of state; she's the head of government. The government general.
okay, yeah. People do not understand. People are listening know what I mean, because we know that there's a whatever general. Who was he?
The governor general.
Yeah. Everybody know that the queen owns the island. Yeah. So we were talking about the prime minister, that particular title that they take. But when we scheduled this show, we were talking about economic hitmen. It came about because someone sent in a blog about their mortgage being more than they thought it would have been. I don't know if the person is uneducated, if they don't know what an amortization table is all about. I don't know what it is that they're seeing, but we have to assume that the person knows. We always have to assume that the person knows what they're talking about before they up and write in a blog regarding their mortgage. And they're saying that in Barbados they take advantage of women and they don't give women of the paperwork when they sign off for a mortgage, and they can change it behind the scenes where you sign it and you leave and you think you've signed something. You have a little piece of paper in your hands. Behind the scenes they have more paperwork, and they change and tick off and add on what they want, and they're defrauding the women. Again, we hear of women being disenfranchised and being taken advantage of in Barbados, and that's where we come in. That's where this show came about. And then after that, someone else wrote in and said that they belong to another financial institution. The first one was City of Bridgetown, COB, City of Bridgetown Credit Union. And this one, they said they did not want to state what entity it was and where it was located, but they said that they were having problems with that particular financial institution. And we are seeing where you're not safe. Your money is not safe. Being an investor in Barbados is not safe. We had someone by the name of Alex Mitchell. He will clearly and quickly tell you that when you think you buy land, you don't really own any land in Barbados. So there's a lot going on with people in Barbados, and they need to open up their eyes. They need to start questioning their bankers, questioning their attorneys. And another attorney came up on nakeddeparture.com today also. So much there is about stealing and defrauding, and they're doing it to each other. Black on black crime. Black lives certainly don't matter in Barbados because it's 95% black, and they're doing it to each other. So I don't know if there's much more you have to say, Victor, but I think
the question I would ask most attorneys in Barbados. I'm not an attorney. I'm a hospital administrator by trade. So anything to do with healthcare administration, you could ask me about, and I can tell you. Period. But illegal in the United States, so too is price gouging. It's illegal in the United States. It's illegal in most developing and or developed countries. So the question that I would ask anybody is that when you sign for a home loan or for any loan of any sort, you have a period of time up to which you can change your mind. When you sign on the dotted line and you take that paper out of there with you and you go home and you review that paper with whomever, typically you should review that paper with an attorney at law, real estate attorney. You have to pay a small fee, not much. And of course you have photocopies of that. Now, when you go back 30 days, 45 days, 60 days from then, and there's a culmination in the process of you're getting that home loan, right off the bat you should start to see certain things. And as you refer to, Sherry, the loan is usually amortized over a period of 30 years. In this country it is. The tables, the amortization tables are clearly illuminated for everyone to see. So if there's a bait and switch policy that goes on there, then now you need to start thinking litigiously to go back in and sue that organization that baited and switched paperwork relative to your loan. Because oftentimes too, it may not even be a bait and switch. It may be that the wrong loan has been amortized for you. You might be paying for someone else's house. You might be paying on someone else's mortgage. So it is vitally important that before we sit down and fall in love with the idea of home ownership, fall in love with the illusion of inclusion of the Barbadian dream or whatever it is, that you understand the practices that happen to be taking place in the purchase of a home, the signing of those documents. Take an attorney with you. If you can afford to buy a home in Barbados or anywhere, certainly you can afford to spend the money to have your documents gone over by somebody in the legal industry, preferably an attorney, someone who is an officer of the court. Because if you don't, you will be robbed by these people, because it's a profit-making entity, and anything that says denotes profit denotes corruption. It's simple as that.
Exactly. I agree 100%. Yeah, that's why when someone tells you they're capitalists, just let all your antennas should go on red alert, because it means that whatever they give you, they want to rip you off for more than it's worth, much more than it's worth.
And that goes with being an educated consumer. You don't have to buy everything that you see. You have to do some window shopping, price comparison, look at what's best for you given what your budget is, what you can afford. Don't be so willing to sign on the dotted line for anything by anybody. I mean, you are offering your money to someone for a service, whether that service is a mortgage company, it's an automobile company, or credit card, or whatever. So you have to have your antennas up. You have to be looking constantly. You have to be, and again, it goes back to that young lady I mentioned earlier. I bring her name up because she's a Barbadian, but she's alert. She is alert. Ask people like that for help. Ask people like that to point you in the right direction, where you can comparison shop and make good on your money. Because the one thing that we have a lot of is talk, and the one other thing that we don't have enough of is time and money. So time is life, time is money. Once you understand that, you tend to make decisions predicated on understanding down to the most minute level what's important to you, in order for you to establish things that's best for you and your family. Don't be so willing, happy, and engaged to go spend your money with people that don't respect you. Indians or white folks. Don't be so willing to do that. Do that as a situation of last resort when you have comparison shop and you found out that this particular corporation has the lowest, best quality item for you. And until we are able to understand that, in America there's a laughing situation, it's a laughing situation to some, but I find it very, very serious. Where we have communities of Koreans and other Asians. And I'm always mindful of different people. Being from Barbados, I always embrace anybody who would embrace me. And I have Korean friends who would tell me the difference between the Korean community and the black community is that one single US dollar stays in the Korean community for about 60 days. You know how long one single US dollar stays in the black community? If there's anybody out there, you can type it in to Sherry. I wouldn't answer that on this show today. But it is a fraction of the length of time that it stays in other people's communities. And we wonder why things done in our community. You can never get anything done in your community by anyone else because of the way that we think, not only think, but how we project off financially. If monies that come into our so-called communities are divested of those communities and out of those communities relatively instantaneously, then we are contributing to the welfare and well-being of someone else's community other than ours. So what you want to be able to do is to keep what you earn in your community as long as you can and to have something to show for it. I heard recently on Naked Departure that some young men in St. Lucie were complaining that they didn't the amenities to play football and the facilities to play football in that time. That would have been a non-issue in a community of Koreans or Chinese or Filipino in this America. Non-issue, there's no wrong. But every single time there's an issue of some sort, black people have to go with hands out begging somebody to do something for them that they should be able to do for themselves. And we're supposedly removed almost 200 years now from a slave trade model, from emancipation, and we still carry on the same issues as if we were shackled together, yoked together in slavery. That yoke has been removed from around our necks, the shackles from our feet, but those things still remain on our minds. And there is something fatally flawed about that. So we have to remove ourselves now in the 21st century, in the age of technology, when cell phone technology. Today, the cell phone that I'm talking on right now, has more power generating circuitry than supercomputers of 30, 40 years ago. You can do a lot with a cell phone. If that is the case, and if we as black people can show our backside on Facebook and talk about relative irrelevancy on all these social media outlets, why can we not harness the capacity to do some self-investigation relative to the things that we purchase, whether it be large ticket items or smaller ticket items? It is said that an intelligent question is one half of wisdom. That being the case, if an intelligent question is one half of wisdom, why then do we not compose ourselves and comport ourselves in a manner that leads to us investigating the things that we're going to purchase in order to keep more money in our household and thus keep more money in our community?
Well, nicely put. I don't know if you know what's happening in Barbados, but even within that small community, when you were saying that the Asians keep their money in their community for such and such amount of time, and how quickly the black dollar goes into someone else's pocket within Barbados. Even though it's Barbados, we're looking at Barbados, and it's black. It's a black country. Yet people just want to go and live. I don't know if you've heard of this, but in the terraces and in there are other words that they use to show that they're living what better than their brothers that are living some other place that in Black Rock. No one wants to live in Black Rock. They want to live in something terrace or some place that has name behind it. So it's strange that although the money is still in that bucket, they still find room to discriminate and be prejudiced. So we have a situation in Barbados that I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know, all the talking, all the communication, all the discussions, and all the time and energy. I don't know what we're going to do, but it's a troubling situation in Barbados, and I don't know where the money goes. But it's obvious, although it may be staying in Barbados, it's going back to the white man, and the white man is saying that he's Barbadian. That's the first thing they'll say. Well, we were born here in Barbados. We are Barbadian. What foolishness are you talking about? White man. We are Barbadian. So where is the dollar go? Where is the dollar going when it is in the hands of a black man in Barbados? Is it going to a white man, or is it going to a Barbadian? So it's just a very strange situation. I'm done.
But I harken back to my initial question to Dale Marshall before we get off here. Dale Marshall, you are the parliamentary representative of St. Joseph. Again, today the people of that parish lack the ability to go to a water spigot, turn it on, and get fresh flowing water in Barbados, in a country that is a parliamentary democracy, in a country where they voted for you. If you, dear Marshall, were able to wake up today and get water to brush your teeth, get water to drink, if your family was able to do that today, Mr. Marshall, I ask you to take into account that you were able to have that amenity today. And I ask you to think within yourself how it feels to not be able to do that, more especially if you are a poor person in Barbados, on the lower level of the economic food chain in Barbados, and you're either sick, incapacitated, or shut in, and you need water for existence. You know that we all need water for existence, Mr. Marshall. Not telling you anything that you don't know. I'm not calling upon the Prime Minister of Barbados, not yet, to solve these woes in St. Joseph, St. George, St. Lucie, and elsewhere. Your parish, your constituents in St. Joseph need you, Mr. Marshall. And to that end, I am calling on you, I am begging you to alleviate the burdens and the sufferings of the people of St. Joseph. I beg you to go to that parish every single day, to go to your fellow members in the House of Assembly on both sides, to cause a groundswell in order to solve the problems that plague the people, the constituents of St. Joseph. If you are able to do that, and you're able to show some contrition relative to what has transpired in St. Joseph, I will have no problem with you. If you don't do that, I will find it a way socially to make your life a living hell, whether or not you respond. Every single day in any media. I'm not above even going to the United States Congress. I will do it. Because the people of Barbados, they deserve better. They deserve the best. And I love the people of Barbados. I love the people of St. Joseph who are suffering through a very hard time. I pray for you and with you. And I hope that sooner rather than later, the water woes in St. Joseph, St. Lucie, St. Thomas, St. George, or wherever will be resolved. I just want to keep alive. And God bless. bless you, Barbados.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone who's listening in. We will be back as soon as possible, as soon as I am free, as soon as Victor is free, or if anyone wants to come on Naked Departure and talk, give your opinions, give your views, you're very welcome to do this. NakedDeparture.com, and we will be as soon as possible. Have a great weekend. Thank you so very much, Victor.
Bye.
Bye-bye.